You get $100 million, but you must make one species extinct. What do you do? Fleas. It's on sight. They carry diseases, are fucking annoying wankers, they die harder than a Toyota Hilux and can escape judgment by yeeting themselves with the speed of a Catholic priest hearing about a daycare opening. I hate fleas so fucking much it's beyond reason. They find the nastiest place to sting you and the itching goes on for hours, sometimes days. I would gladly pay money out of pocket to hold the terminarch of their species and kill it with the world's tiniest flamethrower. Fuck fleas. Though it would be tempting to extinct one annoying/harmful species, bedbugs seems to be a favorite here. I'd be wary of unintended consequences of such an entire species being killed off, unless there are in-depth studies that indeed, there would be no harm to the environment in doing so. The least harmful way would probably be, cruel as it sounds, pick a species that is down to its last few members, optimally already extinct in the wild, maybe Charco palma pupfish, then use the money to preserve other critically endangered species, essentially doing triage, sacrificing one to hopefully save others. Easy choice, my only question is, does it have to be limited to one? There are plenty of species that could go bye-bye and the environment would be totally fine, in some cases better off, without them. For instance, there are only a few species of mosquito that feed on humans, bed bugs are just a given, there are several rare brain-eating parasitic amoebas that could go, several very deadly plant and fungus species that serve very little environmental benefit, then there's bacteria. Think of all the harmful bacteria strains you could just wipe out and get paid $100 million for. That's without even getting into viruses, which are kind of a gray area when it comes to life. Immediately go on a world tour to determine what would be the appropriate species to make extinct. Fly all over the world, hike and boat and trek all over to make sure I make the best decision. Submit my proposal to the country where said species exists in. They will of course tell me I cannot legally do so. Resume world tour determining a new species to make extinct. If I against all odds manage to live long enough to go through the whole $100 million, I will at that time take credit for one of the unfortunate species that went extinct during my time of the travel and quasi-research. Honestly, I'd find one of those endangered species where there are only a few dozen of them left in the entire world. Everyone's saying mosquitoes and bedbugs, but humans have a very narrow view of ecosystems. I'm reminded of Mao Zedong, who thought sparrows were unlucky, and were pests. He had his people damn near wipe them out, which caused entire ecosystems to collapse and resulted in a famine that killed tens of millions of people. We have no idea what would happen if trillions of mosquitoes vanished in an instant. As horrible as it sounds, the only way to minimize impact on the world is by finding something that's already on the brink, or something that only really exists in monitored habitats, like pandas or rhinos. The guinea worm. It is close to extinction and many people including former US President Carter are actively working on killing it off. Joining the effort will be a good deed even without the money, but if contributing to the species' death would give me a fortune, even better. If the rules mean that in order to win, I would not just have to contribute, but actually land the killing blow on the last individual, I might have to do something drastic. Hopefully I could freeze some worm eggs and unthaw them after the species has officially been declared extinct to kill them. Worst case scenario would mean acting as a host for the parasite myself for several life cycles of the beast. It is supposedly very painful to extract them the traditional way, but 100 million are 100 million. Somehow hack into North Korea, China and Russian missile silos and authorize the launch of every fucking nuke in their arsenal at the United States, NATO and the rest of the planet. The US and NATO should start relating, also send a shit ton to both of the poles, at the same time start in mass releasing gases that destroy the ozone, produce CO2, and fuck up the environment. Most of the planet should be covered in nuclear waste, the poles will be fucked up SND, hopefully start melting a shit ton of ice, raising sea levels. In the end humans should go extinct if done right. I get paid way less than that to eradicate invasive species every day, lol. If only I could make them all disappear and make bank to boot. But, for my part, *Oncosophon piluliferum, also known as stinknet or globe chamomile, is taking over huge swaths of the American West, and is so invasive it can even outcompete other established invasive species. It can grow over the top of grasslands and wildflower fields, shading out everything underneath. Its seeds are tiny and contain no nutritional value for wildlife. Fuck stinknet. I get paid way less than that to eradicate invasive species every day, lol. If only I could make them all disappear and make bank to boot. But, for my part, *Oncosophon piluliferum, also known as stinknet or globe chamomile, is taking over huge swaths of the American West, and is so invasive it can even outcompete other established invasive species. It can grow over the top of grasslands and wildflower fields, shading out everything underneath. Its seeds are tiny and contain no nutritional value for wildlife. Fuck stinknet. You get $100 million.